take it. Got it! Boston wins! Two legends in basketball analysis with over 70 years combined experience. This is the Bob Ryan and Jeff Goodman podcast. NBA, some college.
And hello, everybody. It is time for the Bob Ryan Gary Tanguay podcast here on CLNS Media, brought to you by Prize Picks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of CLNS Media Network. Pick more, pick less with Prize Picks. Okay, Bob, Celtics preseason underway, 107-103 over Denver, 17 players played. Your guy Pritchard had a game. He got off on the right foot.
Pritchard, yes, he had 21 points and 6 assists. And but the story of the game for me, before we get to individual and analysis, if you will, the Celtics were 37 for 98 from the floor. Would you like to guess out of the 98, how many of those were three-pointers?
30.
61.
Oh, okay.
There were 17 for 37 on twos and 20 for 61 on threes. Welcome to basketball in the 21st century, folks.
Yep.
I'll say no more. Nothing's going to change. Those of us who, hate the three, nothing's going to change. But just so you know, that's the way it was. Okay, Pritchard had a good game. The regulars played most only in the first half, as a rule. The minutes played, Tatum, Brown, and White, 19 minutes each. Fournette started because, of course, we had neither. And Al was held out.
Yeah.
21. Holiday, 12. And 17 people played in this game.
Right.
So it's an exhibition game. They were down at the half, and they came back and they won it. And just to let you know, it was really weird at the very, very, very end. They had the score wrong. The score was wrong. And they had to be pleasantly surprised that they were ahead. They credited on the Abu Dhabi scorekeeper, clock reader, credited score to the wrong person at wrong team at one point late. Anyway, they wind up winning 107-103. By the way, Jokic played 17 minutes and had 14 points, 8 rebounds, and 2 assists. Nothing to be gleaned from it in the long run. But if you're trying to make the team, the two guys that did themselves a favor, if they try to sit on that bench or at least be on the 15-man roster, were Jordan Walsh and J.D. Davison. They both look pretty good. And but the guy who did not do himself any favors was first-round pick, and I'm a guy I have a proprietary interest in, I must admit, all cards on the table, Baylor Shireman, because he started out college at my new favorite school that's not Boston College, South Dakota State.
Right. Yeah.
My new team west of the Alleghenies. And his first shot hit the side of the backboard, and the second shot was an air ball.
Oh.
So he hopefully got all the bad stuff out of his system in the first game.
Yeah, he had some nerves, Bob. He had some nerves.
He is the first-round pick, and I do expect him to come back and be on the opening day roster just because. But we'll see. Maine would beckon, of course. What do we glean by it? Nothing. Nothing in the big picture at all. I only saw the second half, and I tuned in at halftime. The one lament, I think, from Brian Scalabrine, back in the saddle, was they gave up too many easy inside baskets in the first half, presumably to Jokic, but not just to Jokic. He flashed himself in a Back to the Future mode, just so you know, down the road. DeAndre Jordan, he threw his body around pretty well for Denver. So just so you know, he's with Denver, and there you go. But that's it. The lifter, it's the first game of the NBA season. But I got to say this. I was one of the many great unwashed that had not done my political homework. And it is a little bit unnerving now, disturbing when you are informed that the NBA we know they're already in bed with China and, commercially, which is shaky, to be honest. But the UAE, the game was in Abu Dhabi and in that Arab Emirates. A lot of people very upset about this. And the Boston Globe ran an op-ed piece about this, the politics of it all. They are helping fund a terrible situation in Sudan. And people better look it up. Sudan is maybe the worst humanitarian crisis on the globe at the moment, which is saying a lot, by the way, if you think about it. But they may be the absolute worst humanitarian crisis of homelessness and displaced people. And the UAE is complicit in this, according to what I am reading, and only just informed recently. And it's not. So I'm uncomfortable. I'll just say this: I'm uncomfortable with the idea that the NBA and that unfortunately the Celtics were involved in a game in the UAE at this particular point in time. It's third year in a row they've been there. I didn't realize this. We weren't paying attention.
I mean, I assume it's follow the money.
Naturellement. I just want to be on record as saying that I'm not comfortable with this, and I just wish in second thought the Celtics had never been involved. All right, I'm off the soapbox. Back to basketball.
Okay, there you go. So now Derrick Rose, 36 years old, has called it a career. Derrick
Rose retired 2 days ago or so, and today is his 36th birthday. I mean every word of what I'm about to say. I pontificate that I have seen every great player in the last 65 years. I'll cut it off at 65. I probably could go to 70, but I'll go with 65. I've seen them all. And this man, in his youth, in his collegiate prime, and in the early NBA prime, was an elite player who you had to see in person to appreciate. You don't make that statement about too many people. Why do I say that? I'm about to tell you that I was lucky enough to, I don't remember, I sought out consciously for whatever reason, the 1 year in college he had, which is 07, 08, and at Memphis. I went to his regional, so I saw him play a couple of times, and it wasn't just one. Saw him play a couple of times. And then in the Final Four. So I maybe played him 3 times in person. And you had to see him in person to understand the uniqueness of this guy. Now, there have been any number of guys who are rocket ships up and down the floor. We've all seen them, great ones. And Iverson was a rocket ship. A lot of guys are rocket ships up and down the floor in a straight line basis. And that's fine. This guy, there were 2 things that distinguish him going to the basket. Frankly, unlike anyone I've ever seen. Okay? The 2 things together. One, it's an illusion. Now, the first one's an illusion. All right? But he created this illusion like no one else. When he went to the basket, it was almost as if he had an extra gear. He downshifted, and at the end, it's like late life on a fastball, kind of thing, as they say.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, late life on the drive. And then one final little thrust going to the hoop. And the illusion of it, I've never seen anyone that struck me that way. And that's why I mean you had to see him in person. And that would never come off on television. But I was fortunate enough to be sitting close enough to the court to go, oh my God, I've never felt that since. I've never had a sensation like this with a guy. Never, ever. And I've seen everybody's in the last 65 years. Well, now that wasn't always, then it was only about, 49. But anyway, the point is he had that. And the other thing he did, which is verifiable, is that he could go up in the air and move laterally in the air quicker and farther than anyone I've ever seen either. So he'd go up on the left side of the basket and go up, and he'd finish over on the right farther than in a way that not many people I've ever seen could do. Very, 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 very few. So he was an extraordinary talent. Now consider, he was 1 year of college basketball. His team was 38-2. They went to the championship game, one of the great championship games, and they got it wrapped up. I thought, we all thought. And then Mario Chalmers of Kansas makes a miracle shot going left to right from the top of the key to tie it up and send them into overtime. And Kansas beats them by 7 in overtime. One reason being Memphis was with tradition with them, were horse bleep free throw shooters. And if they had made their free throws in general, they would have won the game without worrying about going overtime. But Rose, that was his one. So he goes to the Final Four and goes to the championship game. He goes to Chicago. He's rookie of his hometown. He's from Simeon Academy in Chicago. He's rookie of the year. In his 3rd year, he leads them to a 62-20 record.
Right.
Okay? And he is the MVP at age 22 years and 7 months, the youngest ever MVP. That's how good Derrick Rose was.
He was Hall of Fame bound.
He was
no doubt.
He was Springfield. He could start preparing the speech, right? And then the next year they go. Let's see what the record was the next year. 50-16. It was 50-16. Right. And 56. And they on the first year, that year of the 62-20, they lost in the conference finals. Okay, they won the conference. They won the division. Second year, they win the division again, and they lose in the first round to Philadelphia. 6 games, but guess why? They lost. He tore his ACL.
Right.
Now that was in 2012, and we're talking about a career that ended now in the year 20 in the 23-24 season. He was never the same again.
Well,
Never.
wasn't there a second ACL? Were there two?
I think another. Yeah, maybe.
I mean, he had multiple surgeries.
Oh, he had multiple.
He was never the same. You're right.
Never the
the
same.
same.
Done at 22 years, 7 months as an MVP with an express lane to Springfield.
Oh, he was amazing. He was the next great player. I remember, obviously you go Larry Magic, then you go, Michael and LeBron. And I don't know if he was going to be LeBron I can't say that. But this guy was well on his way to being Iverson.
Oh, God, yes. It was going to
maybe
be
even better.
He would, at that point, you would have projected him to have the kind of career that Curry's wound up having in terms of
Curry, Durant.
All said and done,
right.
going to be in the top 10 discussion.
Right.
That's what you would have thought at 22 years of age when he's MVP with this extraordinary physical gift that he was robbed. And so from that point on, he winds up getting traded first out of Chicago. And since he left Chicago, he went New York, Cleveland, Minnesota, Detroit, New York a second time, and Memphis. And hung around and had his moments and all that, but it was never, ever, ever the same. Now,
but he loved to play, and I didn't think he was even going to stay in the league.
We have to mention that there's a taint in the collegiate world, and that they were stripped of their runner-up,
right?
Because it was found out that alleged and I guess never disproven that he had someone else took his SAT test just to get into Memphis.
Wasn't there also some money that changed hands?
Oh well, they're always. Oh God,
something for some reason the number of $500,000 is in my head.
And later on, there was a sexual harassment charge.
Oh, I don't remember that. But okay.
Ended up not being convicted. Okay, right. So I'm just charged. And I'm not saying he's one of nature's noblemen. I may know that, but we'll stick with the basketball. He was an extraordinary talent, and he should be recognized for that. That's all.
He was.
So career was robbed.
No, you're right. It is when it comes to the talent and on the floor stuff, it was
really. I'm telling you, I'm just thinking that I can't think of anyone else that I've ever said you had to see him in person,
right?
Feel it, see it, and I was fortunate enough to be able to do that when he had the gift.
You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Hey, sign up today. Get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Cook up hot takes with your friends and win real money this football season when you and your crew run your game on Prize Picks. This week on the Prize Picks football board, Justin Jefferson for more than 83.5 receiving yards and Patrick Mahomes for less than 267.5 passing yards. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game.
How do you feel about the Knicks, Bob?
I'm bullish on the Knicks. And
you were bullish before the trade.
Yeah, bullish before the trade. Towns, my one question. Now the Towns, we talked with Jeff Goodman, and he goes back with everybody. I think he went back with Dr. Nesmith, but he goes back with everybody. And he points out that Towns, there's been one allegation about him on the court is soft, maybe not a little soft. He's been an underachiever in the playoffs. That is fact. Okay, so there you go. But on paper, he is the quintessential modern big man in that he is equally adept at scoring inside or outside. He's a 40% career three-point shooter. Now that should get people in the Boston Celtics fans a little bit concerned. And I speculate that he might be able to. What they would like from him is to do for them what Porzingis did for the Celtics in terms of floor spacing and extra threat and all that. I think he could perform a very similar role for them. Now, the one question I had that now I'm going to address is, didn't I remember there was some friction between he and Thibodeau when Thibodeau was his coach in Minnesota? And
that seemed like forever ago, though, right?
Well, there was. But according to both of them, let bygones be bygones. And in today's New York Post, I read that, quote, whatever else might have, this is by Stefan Bondi, whatever else might have been happening behind the scenes, Towns revealed last season he and Thibodeau, quote unquote, squashed their beef years ago in a one-on-one conversation. A source said Thibodeau was fully behind acquiring Towns, blah, 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 blah. Okay. And now his take, Towns, as of yesterday, and from training camp in Charleston, South Carolina, saying good things about Thibodeau, appreciating his first practice. And he said, I think it gives us, that's he and Thibodeau, a little bit of a head start. I know the offense that he runs. I know the way he likes to play defense, and I know what he expects from his players. I just think it gives us a little bit of a head start. So I'm putting the Celtic fans on notice even more now that the Knicks and the Celtics are going to duke it out this year. It's going to be fun.
Well, how much of the Minnesota disappointment in the playoffs is on him? Just him. What about Anthony Edwards?
Oh, you can't. Well, but this predates Edwards. He's around 9 years. We're talking about
No. But like last year, right?
Yeah.
Minnesota was off to a great start.
They may have been the most disappointed. The floppiest.
I couldn't believe it. Yeah,
the most underachieving team of the playoffs based on what they have shown.
No doubt. I thought they were going to go to this.
I was really big on them going into playoffs.
Me too.
And so that's right. So, okay. Well, you don't think that won't be brought up when the playoffs start?
It's going to be brought up a lot. That's why, when they made the move from Minnesota's perspective, and there are many who think Minnesota got the better end of the deal.
Oh, yeah. Well, I know there are people that feel that way. Of course, part of that is Steven Senso has really become an interestingly very good player. Had a great year.
So I'm not so I go
every year.
So I just wonder if for Minnesota it was addition by subtraction. They needed to send a message. Maybe the player needed a change of environment. Whatever.
Right.
But I think Minnesota felt what we did last year was not good enough, so somebody's going.
Well, I think you're right, and they did pick up. A guy's been in an all-star game, maybe or even two, in Randall, whether you like him or not. And I go back to Kentucky, being very impressed with him.
Right.
And Stephen Senso is the wild card here because, as I just said, I think he keeps seeming to be getting better year by year. And he really blossomed 2 years ago in Milwaukee, and then he came to New York and had an even better year. And now here he comes. It gives him a real good dimension. I think we'll see. But
does Towns cause matchup problems for the Celtics?
Well, they're going to have to honor him. When the Knicks, you played the Knicks with Hartenstein, and who's gone as a free agent, and it was useful to them, but not because he was a big scorer. And Mitchell Robinson, whose whole raison d'etre is just blocking shots, and not he's not out there to score. You can play a different kind of defense, and they got a guy that has to be honored. He's got to be honored.
Well, that's what I'm thinking because
not going to stand out there and shoot threes all night when he's a 40% shooter, which means that somebody's got to go guard him. And if it's Porzingis, and he's I think it can theoretically. I can't wait to see it. Theoretically, I think it makes a big difference.
I think it could cause. Look, I'm not sounding the alarm. Okay, I still think the Celtics are going to win the East. I think the Celtics, if they do what they're supposed to do, can win it all again. I think this makes the East a little bit more difficult because of the matchup situation.
Look, there's nothing like seeing a game live. Watching it on TV is great. We have all the technology. We have our phones. We have access to everything. But being there in person is definitely the way to go. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. For example, coming up in October, $147 to see the Dolphins at New England. That's a good deal, folks. That's an AFC each grudge match. Also, great deals on BC tickets, Boston College tickets, as they're headed in the right direction over at the Heights. Curated deals make it easier to find the best price on great seats. You got the super deal. Seat views before you buy it. Lowest price guarantee, even cancellation protection, job loss protection. They've got so many different angles for you. Game Time Picks. Curation makes it easier for you to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, and theater. You could toggle along with all-in pricing The feature shows the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. Plus, you can see, you get a great view from your seat. Get a panoramic view from the seats that you're about to buy. You don't have to buy them, and you get the view, so you know what you're getting. Lowest price guarantee or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time.
Now, you mentioned Porzingis. We all know game management. Porzingis doesn't. So during the regular season, Porzingis doesn't play a lot. I mean, I don't expect him to play a lot. So then you got Al. Now, obviously, if you get into the playoffs, it's a different story. It's all hands on deck. But what I'm just saying is, during a regular season, when these two teams match up, I think he's going to cause the Celtics some problems.
Well, I think it's very possible. I just agree. I totally agree.
Yeah. I think that's why they made the move. I think they made the move. They said, this is the only way we can beat the Celtics, because we need a 7'4" and a 7-footer, 40% shooter that can score in and out. If Porzingis, they got to make Porzingis move. They got to make the dude play defense. Al, we know, is long in the tooth. I think that is exactly why they made the move.
It's an excellent point, and history tells us that teams do react to other teams in that manner. It's
sure.
Celtics. I can tell you right now, the Celtics were dying to find an Andrew Toney deterrent. It wasn't
right.
Quinn. Well, they found it with DJ. That they got, but until that, he was torturing them, and then he still good. He never tortured them again once DJ showed up. And I'm sure that was very much part of the thinking, because they knew that the obstacle that they had in the East was Philly. Even though they lost to Milwaukee in '83, there were mitigating circumstances. A lot of mitigating circumstances in that Milwaukee sweep of the Celtics in '83. They knew the real foe it was Philly, and they addressed it.
There's no doubt. I mean, and I understand you have Philadelphia. It all depends if the big guys get healthy with the Sixers. But even though the Sixers are better.
They are, and they're deeper. They're legitimately deeper. People should pay attention. They picked up, guys that can get out there and play. They picked up some and Andre Drummond, who can still rebound. So yeah, they're going to be better too. But it's fine. The teams are going after. They're going after the Celtics. That's clearly
no doubt. Yeah.
Now
Thibodeau, like Thibs, Thibs. I mean, you were around the guy.
Yes.
How do you think he has changed? And why he's so good with his team? It seems that he's not, and I don't know if he burned out people in Minnesota or burned out people in Chicago, but it seems like, has he mellowed?
Well, he's in his 60s now, and I mean, really, and he's been around a long time now in the league, we don't know how he's behind the closed doors, but he the other day, it's interesting. He was, I don't say he was angry. You can't tell that in print, but he was willing to address that he's not changing his philosophy about the playing time, and he's been criticized for playing his regulars too much, and he said nothing's going to change. I'm going to play my regulars the way I'm going to play them, and so don't think so. That's the one thing he hasn't changed in that regard. He's going to be some heavy minutes for some of his starters, and he doesn't give a damn. He'll take his chances. He's not a big fan of the load. In other words, he's not buying into the load management thing the way a lot of other people are.
Right. Well, Bob, you saw my star in the background. Here we go.
Yeah.
Flash. Right. She's not buying it. Flash, say hello. Say hello. Flash.
We'll have to get Flash.
Flash.
Maybe my Blaze can make an appearance one day.
Yeah, Blaze and Flash. Well, all right, Bob, great job as always. We will talk to you again next week.
Yep.
Bob, Ryan, Gary Tanguay, brought to you by PrizePicks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of the CLNS Media Network. Pick more, pick less with PrizePicks. All right, Bob, talk to you soon.